Let me remind everybody to sign in. On the podium up there is a sign-in roster. Put just the name and your address so you can see who's been here and who hasn't. Check my list. Who's been naughty and nice. All right. It's now 7 o'clock. I'm calling this meeting to order officially. And Mr. Carl, can you confirm that the meeting was posted? Posted on the website, in the gate, and announcement spread out. Okay? Okay. The next thing on the agenda is approval of the November meeting minutes. They also are posted on the website. Each member of the board has a copy. Anybody have any comments on the agenda meeting minutes? Okay. A motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Okay, moved and seconded. Everybody in favor? Aye. Okay, motion is passed. Old business. The only old business I know for sure is the foreclosure sale in the Roberts home is scheduled for the 30th of January. The actual amount owed to the bank on that house is, I think, far more than the property value. So chances of us seeing any outcome for that is slim to none. So we're not going to get rich off of that sale. Okay. On the new business, any other old business that I've missed? Anybody know of? All right. New business. All right. I'd like to introduce everybody that didn't know about the election to our new board members. Hello. Just turn yourself on. All right, let's cut it back up. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
That's magic. Okay, new board members. Elected on the 10th of December. Was it 10th? December the 10th. That's what I said. Okay. It was Sam Crivides, Carl Metz, and myself. We had an organizational meeting that night, and these guys ganged up and made me the president. Dr. Sam is the vice president. Carl was signed up as treasurer. And Denny's going to remain on as member at large for the rest of his term, at least. Subsequently, we had a resignation happen right about the time we were having an organizational meeting. So what we're going to do is we're going to propose an additional member, or a new member, to take the place of the resignation. We're going to do that in accordance with the rules that are in our bylaws and in the state law. I've done a search, I've asked for volunteers. My going in position of looking for somebody that's a little bit younger than us guys, that has the time and has the knowledge to run electronic programs. Got a volunteer who's excited about being on the board. He knows the stuff. He's a project manager guy. He's available. His name is Don Yoakum. He's got a bunch of kids, and he's going to be a good member of our community to help us change from being an old people's home to a place for young people to come and settle and begin their life in this beautiful, pristine location. So, having said all that, what I'm going to propose now is that we ask for a motion to change Carl's designation from treasurer to secretary.
So moved.
I'll second that. Any discussion before we vote? Okay. Let's have a vote then to change Carl's designation from treasurer to secretary. All in favor?
Aye.
It's unanimous. Okay. So that leaves us. If I put my gloves on, I won't do that. My electric personality. Okay, so now I'm going to propose that we nominate Don Yocum as the new treasurer in place of Richard, in place of the person who resigned.
Take a motion.
I have a motion to nominate Don Yocum.
I'll second.
Okay, moved and seconded. Any discussion before we vote? Okay, let's show a hand. The nomination is passed unanimously. Could be worded. Okay, now comes the hill. Without casting aspersions on our previous board, our management is in trouble. Our lawyers said so. Trust me, our books are in good shape. We're not in trouble from that aspect. It's just that there is a hooping group of new laws, new rules, and as you can see, there's 3 and soon to be 4 of us that are brand new to this board. Now, Carl has previous experience on the board. Don Yocum has previous experience as a board president. So we're not without experience, but we're not experienced in managing Shalimar Point Owners Association. So to that end, we have to do a lot of learning. We have a lot of training courses that are coming up, mandatory training that the law says we have to have, and then some stuff that's just a good idea to learn about the new laws. We know that there was a bunch of stuff passed in July of this year, or last year, 24. There's a special session of the legislature going in on the 23rd of this month. There will be more changes to association management coming up in 2025. On the 16th of this month, we're going to gather over at my house and sit on the cozy couch and watch a seminar on upcoming legislation programs. We also have a mandatory course that at least Sam and I have to take. It's mandatory for all new board members. So, okay, this is a lot of fun. I think I might just stand up on the table and talk real loud. What we're going to do is, I've been window shopping for management companies. Find out some details about what they do, how much they charge, and how much they protect us from getting in trouble inadvertently. Because of all the changes in the laws, the massive amount of financial management regulations that you have to comply with, the cost of postage for sending out a lot of this stuff, and just a myriad of problems that we can get ourselves into inadvertently in all good faith and still wind up screwing things up. Management companies, as many of you know, And I've talked to a couple of people who had bad experiences with management companies, so it's not universal. But if you do your due diligence and you get a good company, they'll take care of you cradle to grave. They'll take care of your financial reports. They'll take care of your mailings. They'll take care of your website. They'll take care of your roster. They'll keep you from being in violation of the rules. And so I think at this point, Shalimar Plain Owners Association should engage an association management company that is experienced in homeowners associations and in compliance with Florida laws and rules. There are a number of them. There's a lot of them. I've only had experience with Newman Daily and Brooks and Shorey. Newman Daily I would highly recommend, but Brooks and Shorey I would, for whatever reason. I'm just gonna stand up and shout.
I got information from a number of other companies that are in business managing homeowner associations, and they have good reputations. And they've given me very thorough information about what they can do, and most importantly, to you guys, to me, is how much they charge. And the variance is quite different. Still going through the numbers. We've got a committee that's helping me with that. And at this point in time, I want to propose a motion to my fellow board members that we pursue finding and sourcing a management company to help us manage this housing association, which will soon be over 200 members. I think some of you know that there's a possibility that there's going to be up to 4 houses built down at the end of Masters Boulevard. So that'll bring us over the 200 total if they are brought into Shalimar Point. And what I've learned is that they will be brought into Shalimar Point, Owners Association. That would bring us over 200 parcels. That's a heck of a lot of management going on. Okay. So, my proposal to my board members is that we investigate engaging a management company, and we do it with alacrity. I know we have to do this thoroughly. We have to do our due diligence. We have to look into all the aspects of it and the costs. But the first thing we have to do is get the board to either agree or disagree that we need a management company, and then we figure out what we can do. It's going to be, I think, one of the best things that happens to us.
Is there opportunity for discussion on this? I would personally, we had it, I think I can speak loud. This issue is an issue that was not on the budget. This is not a budgeted item, so any move in this direction is going to require the complete approval of a vote of the community. Okay, so that's the first thing and I think in the essence of transparency, I think this is a good idea, but it does require due diligence. I personally think that in order to do this, we should open up a search committee that includes people who are not part of the board, take a couple volunteers and people of the community to join members of the board so that it's an open process.
I agree. I didn't make it clear enough that we're not voting tonight on going into this because we don't know how much it's going to cost yet.
Right.
And how we're going to pay for it. There's a number of different ways we can pay for it, but we want to make sure that we.
Well, I agree with what Sam said, but you're bringing a motion that we investigate.
Yes?
I second that.
Okay. So now there's discussion.
I second that.
Okay.
All in favor? Okay, so the board will continue to do due diligence. We'll be putting out some information to the owners to seek members for the committee that Sam mentioned. I agree with that. And we're going to get the best package we can, and we're going to get the best price we can. And then we'll figure out how we're going to pay for it once we figure out how much it's going to cost. Let me put this in perspective. I can't find another HOA that's paying less in dues than we are. That's got a full service gated community and all that stuff. It just didn't happen. So there might be some increase in monthly or quarterly fees. But it's not gonna be something that's gonna break anybody's budget. I think that's about all we need to talk about the management company tonight. So we'll close off that subject. We'll go to board reports. I've had a letter from a concerned resident. I didn't get the letter. Yeah, one of the other reasons we need a management company is right now our email system is crazy difficult. Bill has tried to change it over so that the new board is receiving the mail that comes to Shalimar Point Owners Association. It didn't work, so he went back to the company that runs the email system, and they said, looks okay from our side, but it isn't. So we're either going to have to, we've got three options on that. We'll either muddle through until we make a decision on a management company, we'll switch to something like Google Groups, or we'll, I don't know what we'll do. It's only two choices.
Or you're
Anyhow.
bringing a young guy on, I'm sure Doug Yotham, who has management experience, can figure out another.
It's not hard to figure out how to get to another email system. I'm not sure it's worth trying to make this one work. We might be able to make it work until we can get something done.
The issue of the email is critical. Everything that we do, it constitutes a board process, and the emails have to be maintained. So personal emails should not be used for this purpose. And so we're trying to get the emails set up so that they come to us, so you can direct your emails to us correctly. And that's the backstory behind why that's important. Okay?
Thank you. Okay, so, this conversation started on that point. Carl Metz got an email to his personal email from a concerned resident that someone has some very bright lights on their dock that have not.
We would like to bring a standards issue to your attention. Please see the attached photo of the dock belonging to 835 Choctaw Lane. The addition of these dock lights began as Christmas lights that were festive and in keeping with the holiday season. However, after the holidays, the lights remained and were changed to include blue. If the owner intends to remove them by January 15th, removal deadline, please disregard below. Please review Declaration 10.06, which requires Architectural Review Committee approval if this is a permanent addition to their dock, and further standards 3.18 lighting, where this would not be approved based on the use of high-level area-wide lighting will not be permitted.
I would point out that it's not yet the 15th. And the 15th is the date that our bylaws say that all Christmas decorations have to be.
Why did he come to the board if it wasn't, he can't hear you?
Okay,
Maybe get the mic, it's on.
yeah, the point is that someone has brought this to our attention, I think it's simply a matter of reminding the individuals that have the lights that they have till the 15th of January to remove their Christmas decorations. And if they don't intend to do that, then they need to get in compliance with the architectural standards. That's a simple process. We'll send a letter out from the board. We're not gonna go harassing people about lights.
Somebody send me a letter, you can just hold me, I'll turn them off.
You're the one? Okay. I didn't know.
Whoa.
I know they don't, the lights have nothing to do with Christmas, the dock lights.
And wouldn't you rather have dock lights and have
So-
somebody run into it?
So that's actually that's a legitimate point, that's a safety point. Somebody died about 3 houses up from your house
Yeah.
2 years ago. So you are welcome to request this architectural clearance. This point is that you haven't requested them, and I don't,
Architectural standards don't apply to docks, you guys don't control past the laws.
I welcome that discussion. I don't necessarily disagree with you. I'm telling you, the quote is here, the architectural standards quotes are accurate, and this is not, in my opinion, a was quoted a high-level area-wide lighting. So that being said, it's a discussion that's appropriate for the Architectural Standards Committee and for this board. Ideally, we want to do this by these standards, that's all.
We want to do it by standards, and we want to do it by mutual agreement. All right? So,
Start the year out.
okay. We're having a discussion amongst the board here. The board's action is, we don't need to take action on that, but I'm asking you to get with the Architectural Standards Committee and discuss it with them. All right? Okay. There was one other concerned resident who was concerned about the light on the flagpole out by the gate. Another concerned citizen went by and bought a new light and put it in, so it's now working again. Case closed. That's all the correspondence I've had so far, so.
Well, thank you to the individual that replaced the lights, illuminating the flag.
The other light that's up there also illuminates the flag a little bit too, so. I'll be replacing that one of these days because it's an old halogen light. They don't survive this kind of climate to outdoors. The one that's up there now is an LED light, so that'll reduce our overall electrical bill by 0.001%. Over 40-year life of that bulb. Okay, the next report we have is Vice President. Anything new on your mind?
I have nothing to ask. I want to thank you all for the selection. I want to promise you transparency. I want to promise to work with you with everything as we transform and go forward here. I welcome individual discussions, and I hope to represent appropriately. Thank you.
Amen to that.
Okay, as you know, we got 80% of the board is new, which means we don't have a lot of continuity, but we're learning. I think we have a slightly different attitude about things. Transparency, as Sam said, is extremely important to us. We want to make sure that things are handled in an appropriate manner. Our board meetings will be done in accordance with 720 and our bylaws, and they will be done in accordance with Robert's rules. So that is something that we want to make sure that everybody understands. This is a appropriate business meeting where we conduct the business of the Shalimar Point Owners Association. But we welcome input. There's several things that have come up in conversations already with our Vice President and myself and the other board members that we're going to incorporate in later meeting.
I'll ask a question about the Vice President. Are you going to be a part of the architectural committee? Or is
gonna be representative. I'm gonna be the board member, I'll be the board representative to the. I don't wanna,
They probably didn't hear us.
I did hear it. The question was, am I going to take on the responsibility of being the representative of the Architectural Standards Committee? Bert has said that he will do that.
volunteer with those.
Why? Why?
Why not?
As far as I
Usually
heard.
the vice president.
So, he's
Is it by historically the vice president?
Yes.
yes.
Historically.
Historically.
That's
Historically.
used before.
If this is the first I'm hearing it, if that is my job, I'm happy to do so.
That's why Victoria was in last time.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's not,
I don't think
it's
right.
not in the bylaws or.
We just
What
need.
are you talking about?
We just need a representative.
This issue is one of the issues that I sidebarred our president about, was trying to open up the issue of committees. All right, there's a lot that we've got to do. Tonight, we've already selected our fifth board member. I think it's important that we address this issue about our committees and we move forward with asking for volunteers to participate. But this is a side discussion, and I didn't necessarily want to go there based on what we had talked about.
Yeah.
Yeah, to your point, though, it's not in the bylaws that the vice president is representing the board.
One reason I stepped in, one reason I stepped in to do it is because there were several approvals that needed to be done immediately.
The reason I brought it up was your turn to be making a report. That's all the reason I was doing it. That's one of the, in times past, the vice president, who's the next report on the architectural committee actions.
I am happy to do so.
I'm
We
not saying it
discussed
has-
that last month, and I am happy to do so.
I don't see.
Ask Bill, he's sitting right there, he's the one who said Victoria had to do it last time.
Bill has handed over the gavel.
Yeah, it says-
We are the board, and we'll do it our way. I am happy to do that if you want to hand that off to me.
We can,
We will talk
we'll
about
talk
it.
about that. We'll talk about that.
I'm sorry, I just was bringing.
It's a good question. I was not aware of it.
Just, it was expedient. We had several, architectural plans that had to be approved or disapproved right away. And so we took the initiative.
Doesn't make sense.
Next person.
Next person is the secretary. And that's you.
I'm taking notes, and I'm recording.
Okay.
And I'm gonna try and get this right.
One of the things that we need you to do is to, get with Richard and get any records that we.
Correct.
Why Richard? I thought Debbie Trimble was the last treasurer.
He's the secretary.
The secretary.
Yeah,
We just-
Rick-
There are
we just
records that the
voted on-
secretary has that need to be.
Richard was the previous secretary, and he has all the records that.
Oh, my husband, Rick.
Rick Sherman.
Rick Sherman, not Richard.
If you look at our bylaws, one of the secretary's responsibilities is to maintain, the HOA records, to secure them.
When Don gets back into town, he'll pick up the records from Dennis Crumble. And we'll go through the process of training him up on driving Miss Daisy. Okay, so we won't have a treasury report tonight. We can have a treasury report? Okay.
Well, if you want to hear about all the information.
Okay, got something exciting?
Yeah.
Okay.
First off, it's already been noted, I'm not the treasurer. And the reason I'm speaking to that is because I met with one of the board members, and after we went into things for about 30 minutes, Carl decided, hey, this is too much. And I told Carl, I said, I fully understand. And the reason is because it is too much. And that's what I'd like to bring up to, before I get into financial numbers, Bert, is that for three reasons. Number one, simply the time that's involved in this job. It's unrealistic to expect anybody, let alone somebody that's got a full-time job and a family, but that's up to Don, to do this work. The demands are just too much, and that's the biggest thing. I'm sure Don has got the expertise in terms of QuickBooks and Excel and whatever's required. But the other thing that you need to think about is, if Don isn't there, then who picks it up? That's one big advantage of having a professional folks do this, is if something happens to somebody, because the bills keep coming in, things keep going around, and you can get behind real quick. I would highly recommend that I sit down with Don take a look at what it is. I'm sure Don could devise probably a new system. That would take a lot of time, but the way it is right now, it's a lot of work. I was gonna mention one other thing. The other, we've got past experience from this, is whoever you get to do it, make sure they're capable. Because in the past, we hired somebody, this was several years back, they came in and they did the work, and it turned out to be a mess. And then it took Richard Bill probably, I don't know how long, to reconstruct things. So the point is, you don't want to get behind the power curve, you want to stay line abreast and keep things moving. So just take that for whatever it's worth. I know we've made a decision. Just tell Don, I'll be glad to meet with him, go over it, but I think he should give you a head nod that he's willing to take it on before he signs on the dotted line, because just as Carl saw, it's a lot of work. Okay, for the financial review, I'm just going to go over a couple of these things, and I'll go over them in a little bit greater detail since you've never seen them before, just to explain a little bit. First thing, financial summary. That's the 2-pager. If you look at that upper left-hand corner, that's the checking account. That's simply the operating account. That's what we write all our checks out of, make our deposits into. The current balance of that as of today, this is of course as of the end of December, the current balance right now is actually right at about $59,000. So that's what's in the checking account. If we look at just the expense layout down below, I'll just go, obviously they're categorized on the left. If you go left to right, you'll see that's December. That first column is December. You on the right one, Bert?
Yeah. He did.
Yeah. The first column is actually the expenses in December. I'll talk about that in a second. The next column over, that's the actual cumulative for the year. The next column over, that's the budget for the year. The last column on the right is the variance off the budget, the cumulative number. The only thing about that column I'd caution you is anything in parentheses normally is bad. That's in this column, it's good. That's just the way the program works. If we look at the actual month of December, we'll just go down those fairly quickly. Administration, $1,700, pretty high for that month. That was the expenses associated with the election. Electricity, normal. If you come down, gatehouse repairs, Denny can speak to this, but there were some repairs, and also he bought a group of transmitters, so that's the higher expense there. Grounds maintenance, normal. The $200 under miscellaneous was, that was the cost for the election for Watson and Manny coming in and do their work. Social welcome was cookies with Santa. So that's December. Those are the actual numbers. The next column over is for what we spent for December. There's our budget. And then if you come over there, and then the telling column there is just the variance. We're over a little bit in administration. Under in most columns, the two I would mention, as I mentioned during the December briefing, if you look at the gatehouse in general repairs, those are abnormally low. They're just off the charts low. So when we look at the bottom line number, you'll see that that's really optimistic. To expect that in the future is just probably not feasible. Ground maintenance, normal. Income tax will probably go up a little bit more. The CD interest is starting to pile up. Insurance, that's what it was there. I'll talk about that in a second when we look at the budget for next year. That has already gone up. And then the other ones are pretty much normal. So the bottom line says, hey, we're $16,000 under budget. Like I say, those two things for both the gate, general repairs, and also Masters Boulevard repair, which is about $3,200, still hasn't been done yet. So that actually would have normally been done by now. If we look at the CDs, all the CDs are down at United. And I talked to Bert about that as far as having all the money in one bank. We went there for primarily for the rate, but several are coming due soon. That number down there, as far as the total number, those amounts reflect what's been credited to the account. Doesn't necessarily reflect that interest is accruing. The interest pays every 6 months on these CDs. But we've got about 400,000 in the CD accounts. That the bottom account there, 1020757. That's the money market account. That's the current balance in there as of right now. That earns a variable interest rate. As of the meeting last time, it was earning 4%. Any questions on the financial summary for December? If you flip over and take a look at the bank statement. I'll just go through this a little because if you look at the numbers, they look out of whack. If let's just go down. All this is each month income and deposits, and then over expenses or checks that are written. If we go down the left side, you look at January and February, pretty big numbers. Well, that primarily is due to obviously January is the first month of the quarter, so a lot of money's coming in. A lot of people pay up front, so they'll pay the whole year, so you'll see an abnormally high number there. You see a lot of the money in February because this reflects what is in the bank, so this reflects what is cleared, not necessarily what it actually came in. If you look at April, July, and October, those numbers are higher, and that's simply because of that's the start of the quarter, so money is coming in that regard. If we look at expenses and checks, we go over there, a couple things there. You'll see, obviously, January, April, July, and October, that's when the money goes out to the golf course. You look in March, that's a pretty high number. We wrote a check for a $50,000 CD, that's why that's abnormally high. Another thing that can be high in these numbers is, for example, if there's a problem with the gate out front, what will happen is we'll pay the bill and then insurance may come later. So that insurance is not reflected in those expenses. So if you look at the bottom line expense, you look and you see 207 and you come over there and you look at your actual expenses of 129, you go, hey, that doesn't quite match up. But that's because of things like the CD, paying off insurance prior to the insurance money coming in.
Can I clarify something as far as what you said about the gate? It's when we have damage to the gate.
Damage.
You didn't say.
I'm sorry.
I think everybody heard that, but anyway, it wasn't necessarily clear that we were talking about damage to the gate.
Yeah, sometimes there will be, like this year, it's actually abnormally low as far as repairs. But this year we had primarily damage to the gate.
Quite a bit.
Yeah, quite a bit. So the only reason I bring that up is those numbers, when you look at them, they can raise some questions if you're not aware of what's going on. The budget, I just gave you a copy of the budget, and the only thing you need to look at there is just that middle column that I highlighted in yellow, and that's just the budgeted numbers for this year. We've already broke the bank on insurance. Our insurance went up $1,600, so that's I think 81 for the year. So we're 600 over there. Our QuickBooks subscription that went up $300 already. So the only ones here that I really need to keep aware of, like I say, if you look at the gate and the general repairs, those things are probably, based on previous experience, but also we've also seen in some years they can go off the roof. Any question on the budget? That's all I got for.
Okay, I'll make a comment on the insurance, the rationale on the insurance increase was pretty high. Basically, she said it's due to the litigious nature of our society these days in Florida in general, and of course the experience in losses in Florida. I can't explain the increase of 50% in the cost of QuickBooks. That was a shock. But we had to do it. We had to renew it by the middle of this month, I think it is. So.
Can I ask a question? Is this a closed meeting or can I ask
This is a board meeting. This is a board meeting.
So we are not allowed to talk? We're not allowed to ask questions, is that the case?
That's the case.
So
Okay?
we can-
but you are signed up to speak on the matter of the agenda.
Whoa.
Okay.
You missed something?
No.
That's on your
Okay. Yeah, we're back to,
agenda.
no, we got some more committee reports first. Okay, architectural standards report. Yeah. Sorted out some of the things. Yeah, this is. I think that's the. Okay, architectural standards, we had approval for the Bakers to put a new roof on. Ostrowski's put a new cement patio in the back of their house. And the Reeds are building a large house right over here on a double lot. That's all that the architectural committee had to run through this time. We had nothing from the welcoming committee, beautification committee, appeals committee, and the social committee. Don, you have something on the social committee report?
So our last event was last night, and that was the murder mystery dinner, and that went over very well. We were concerned about only 30, 40 tickets. We sold out at 63, so that turned out real well. We appreciate the support of the community. We look forward to having some more successful events too. We have a couple people that are off the committee for lack of participation. We have opening for 2 people that are willing to work. They have to come to meetings, they have to help out. So that's the requirements, and if you're interested, I'd love to talk.
I think we're gonna make that 3, because I'm gonna have to drop out.
Too busy. Right.
Okay. Put the agenda somewhere else, not right. Yeah, it was. Let's move it over to the other file. I've got nothing on the appeals committee or social committee. Okay, so now we're going to open the floor to those who signed up to speak to agenda items. And I think the first one is
Brenda.
Brenda. Brenda, what is Brenda?
I just want to make a comment that I am speaking about, because I took some pictures of the repairs that were done to the front of. So I took some photographs of the shack in front, our gatehouse. And that's the first thing I want to comment on, is that it is done correctly. And whoever did it in good faith. However, it's trashy and it looks very bad. And so if you look at the picture, you can see that it would work. It will work. But it's not something that our community can have in our front gate as people come in. So I would like it removed. I would like a professional electrician to do the work and bring it up to standard like it should be. So what do you all think of that picture?
Yes.
You think it's fine?
No.
Do you think it looks good as we come through the front gate?
No.
Does not.
So to this point, I would like to say that we were asked to make available for decorating the front. Because of the transition of the board, the exact ability to get this done in a timely fashion was challenged. It was good faith effort. I appreciate that. I think it's very reasonable to try to fix that. But the goal here is that there is some form of electricity outside so that we could have decorations. That's what you're requesting, correct?
Well, you're being very gracious. Under normal circumstances, we had a group of about 8 people, and we bought all the Christmas decorations to decorate that area. And we were told that we were not allowed to use the power by Denny. All right?
Never told you. I
By
never
Denny,
told
I'm
you.
speaking. By Denny, we were told that we would not be allowed to use the power. All right? And all we had to do was plug it in, put it under the door. It's not a big deal to do that.
Decorations go up.
We did not. We bought all the decorations. We had the group all ready to decorate, and yet we were told, Denny said, I will not help you, Brenda. And so I will not give you the key. I will not open the door. So that is how, and so Bert, I think, or whoever he got to do this work, did it in good faith, because we wanted to have Christmas decorations. You know, that's what we wanted, and we were not permitted to do that. So I'm not happy about it, and I'm not happy about the work that was done. So, thank you.
Give it.
All right.
I never said that.
It's not a matter of that we couldn't let you use the power. It's access to the security system inside the gate. There is no way that you could run an extension cord under that door. It just sealed tightly to keep
It's
out
been done
critters.
in the past, Bert.
It's a different door now.
It's a different building. It's not even the same door or building. There is electricity out there. The outlet that is in the ceiling of the thing is in accordance with code. There are also 2 outlets in the island down next to the light for the flagpole that have been there forever. So that, it's not a matter that we couldn't do it, we just didn't have it well coordinated in the time that we had to speak to it. There will be plenty of time to organize Christmas decorations or whatever for next year. Promise you
We
that.
need to change how it looks. We can't have a yellow and black outlets on a gray building. It's all dirty that way. And we can't do that. We can't have that in our community. We are not a trailer community.
Okay. All right. Next subject. I don't know what the motion is.
Speak or something that was on the agenda.
My plan is to remove the extension cord that we don't need.
Okay. And we have adequate power to.
We have adequate power to do, the reason for the extension cord is it gives multiple outlets down at a level that people can reach without a ladder. If that's, if that's opposed by everybody, then I'll just take it out.
Why can't it be down at the ground level and be
Normal.
gray or below the branches of the building?
Because there is not an outdoor extension cord that has that cover.
There's multiple ways to run.
There's already outlets out there.
Yeah, there's
That can
multiple
be-
ways.
I think consulting an electrician would be a great thing to do, to find out the best way. So that next year, folks can put up decorations. It's just a matter of
Yeah.
Oh,
consulting.
I'm not, all right. I'm not sure what the point is, but
Well, do we need to make a motion on that, that we get an electrician to come in and see about putting underground outlets out there?
I'll entertain a motion to, we have
Look into
electric outlets on the ground.
Yes, I don't understand what the problem is, there's no access to the electricity? Or
There's not access to the electricity plug inside the gate. There was not. So I arranged for there to be a GFCI certified outlet in an outdoor box up where the light used to be. The light was trashed. the box that's up there now is code.
It may be code, but I think the community is asking if we can get something a little more aesthetically pleasing than a black and yellow box up at the.
I'm not talking about the black and yellow box, I'm talking about the box in the ceiling, where the wires come out of the building.
Brenda, but you're talking about the black.
Yeah. You wanna take this wire out, which is fine, this one's okay.
Why don't we ask the beautification committee to take this on?
Okay, at a later date. I mean, this,
We're talking about
They
this
come
black
back
and
next
yellow.
month.
we come back next month and talk about this. Our committee will contact you, and we'll get a committee together to decide on what we want to do with the Christmas decoration, electrical access before next Christmas. Promise to God.
Yes, sir, but it will, it's for the purposes of being able to put on a display in a common ground. So I think the right committee would be the beautification committee to be the one to make that recommendation.
They would like that to be aesthetically pleasing, to match the building and not stand out like that, black and yellow.
Understood.
That's already understood.
So we agree with taking it down, but to do it right with conduit, it needs an electrician. And to do that means somebody has to reach out and get a bid and bring it back to the committee, and then we will go ahead. Okay, so the beautification committee, I recommend,
There's
or
only
I
one
move
person on
that.
the beautification committee, and that's Kristen Watson. So I volunteer to be on it to help you guys. I think that's other people.
I suggested the board discuss it, come
Yeah,
up with an answer.
we're getting off the track here. This is an architectural board concern as well.
Okay.
Okay. We have another speaker who signed up. Yeah, I do. Ms. Peters.
I need my notes.
Okay.
I will. This is a difficult topic, and I think it needs to be said, but, and I don't think I'm the only person thinking this, because I've heard a lot about it. My concern is with the legitimacy of the election that was held last month. And while the evaluation of the documentation that has been, asked for, is not complete, there appears to be some potential issues. And the first is that there are two of you on the board, and I'm not going to mention names unless you force my hand, but 2 years ago, two people wanted to be candidates for the board, and they were told they didn't meet the deadline.
Okay.
And so, a deadline was established, and, the understanding was that if you want to run, you need to meet the deadline. And it even says that in the bylaws, that if the information they're going to be, the candidate information is going to be included in what's mailed to the general membership if they provide that by the cutoff date established for each annual meeting. So my intent is not to be adversarial, but it appears that two of you on the board did not submit your, declare your intent to run and submit your resumes by the due date. And so I've already said why that's complaining, that is a concern. The second issue is that there appears to be some discrepancies between the numbers of ballots and proxies and the accuracy of the tally sheets. And while that evaluation is not done, this is just the preliminary results. And then the other, and I think this is important because the top 5 candidates were remarkably close. And I think that could be problematic. And I think that some of the things that are being found, and if the further evaluation proves to be right with the documentation, it would invalidate the election. And so I think that the bottom line is that we as homeowners need assurance that this past election and future elections are conducted fairly and honestly, And I propose the board investigate to ensure the election was honest so that we as homeowners can trust the process. So that's kind of
let me assure you that we have every intentions of doing that. But what you're referring to has already been looked at. Now, I don't know who the second person is that you're talking about, but I was one of the persons that was looked at, and I showed proof to Brenda that I had my information in on time. And every candidate had their information on the information that was sent out to the homeowners. All the resumes were there. So who's missing? Who? His resume was there?
Well, I think that again, until the further evaluation is done and we present what the concerns are, we're just saying it's a concern right now, and it doesn't appear that the documentation is as clear as you are indicating. You just say that. You know, and I know that we want to start off on a good foot and do all these things, but the reason that is important is because at the November meeting, the question was asked, and I believe it was by Tammy, who are the other candidates? There were, 5 candidates. Who are the other candidates that we don't know about? And we were told, well, we can't reveal that. And that was at the November meeting, which was after the deadline. And so it's just concerning that coupled with some questions about was the deadline met. And remember, precedent was set 2 years ago when it was made very clear that you had to meet the deadline. And then, I guess another thing to say is, if the will of the people is certain people be on the board, we're not following the will of the people and what the votes are. And so.
You already said that the vast majority of people voted for the candidates.
And the other thing that concerns me while I have the 3 minutes is that no sooner does a new board take effect, and the first thing they want to do is turf it off to a management company. And I'm not saying that isn't a good thing, but I think the budget is kind of tight. And, so what you're also telling membership is, you're gonna have to raise your dues because we're gonna outsource what is currently done on the board. And I'm not, because certain people don't feel comfortable with the treasurer, doesn't warrant turfing the whole thing and outsourcing it to a property management company. So that's just my personal.
And you all said that you didn't have time to take on this job.
That was in the resume.
I would ask, what would the burden of proof, from your perspective, of saying that you met what are you looking for?
Okay, the burden of proof lies with Bill. Because Bill is the one that requested that everybody let him know by 20 October that they were volunteering. Their resumes had to be in by 25 October. I haven't received your resume, Bert was in, but I have no evidence of when you did it. Carl, same thing with you. You sent me information on your resume, no date on it. So how would we know? That's historical data. And Bill is supposed to be keeping that in the file of everything he receives. That's part of the election process.
But Brenda, I sent you the email that had the date on it, that I sent it to Bill.
No, I didn't see that. I saw you sent me a resume that had no dates.
No, then I sent you a screenshot of the actual email that I sent to Bill.
Okay,
and
I
that
will
has-
check it, because then.
That has the
I'll
dates.
check it.
So if their emails are fine, this is a done
And
issue.
that is perfectly fine. That's part of the historical data that we have to have.
So it would be the email that says my intent is to run for the board, the confirmation email that says, thank you so much for volunteering to be on our board, and then the date that the resume was sent in. And I have every other candidate's
got those from
I got
them?
the emails from all the other candidates.
And
So, I
these
think
are-
for transparency and for forthcomingness.
Do you have these, Bill?
Possible.
Can we request them of you?
I'll certainly look for them.
Okay.
You're looking for what now?
The intent letter that said
I volunteer.
I volunteer, and then your, thank you so much for volunteering, because I've been screaming and
Okay.
crying for somebody for years.
I provided copies of mine.
The date that the resume was sent.
I will look for that, for those emails. I have a comment about resumes. Does anyone know, can anyone find the word resume in Florida statute 720?
No, but you requested
Is
it.
there, is there, yes, but we're talking about validity of an election. Can anybody find the word resume in our bylaws or governing
Doesn't matter,
documents?
because you set the standard as president. You asked for it, you gave a date, the 25th, everybody had to follow. Just like I had to follow it, and to the other candidate 2 years ago had to follow that. And so we were told to get lost, because you didn't apply on time.
Okay, I think we've beat this to death. It's not on the agenda. So that's what this meeting is about. This meeting is about the agenda that we published and spoke to. So I move we adjourn this meeting.
I was down the first meeting.
You were not.
Yes, I was. I can show you my,
I didn't receive
it went to the secretary at SPOA.
And we were asked to submit it to the Secretary of SPOA, even though we didn't know the
We
Secretary.
didn't know who to
it. On
submit
the
it to.
agenda.
It's on the
letter.
website.
Right.
If it's, if it says the agenda, that secretary,
It's gonna go It's gonna go to Richard Sherman.
that's.
Well, you should check your, you should check, that should be a first item, is to correct the emails to who they go to, so that people
I
can
spoke to that
correspond.
earlier. The email system is broken.
It's FUBAR.
It is completely whacked.
Before we close, other than Tammy, does anybody else has anybody else submitted a request to speak? So the only other one is Tammy?
All right.
All right, we did the official records request and started going through all the documents. Like, Susan said, some of the things just, and they're not adding up. We had 145 ballots. We only had 103 proxies. Typically, and I know not everybody does, I did a random polling of people and asked the question, do you turn in your proxy with your ballot? Most people said yes, because I don't know if I'm gonna be around for the vote, for the election. So I turned them both in together. So that's a large number of difference between the ballots and the proxies, 145 ballots versus 103 proxies. Now, the numbers on the proxies are not correct. The number that so far is that the person who was tallying came up with 111 proxies. There's only 103. So the numbers are not adding up. This election has problems. That's my preliminary report that you know.
Okay. I will vote on it. You want it? You want it? The other issue, they should be able to. Yeah.
It's not a, there's, you can't correlate feeling of, I told some of the people to see if they put in a proxy or not. That's not a sign, that's not a.
And you're right,
that's
but
not
I
a-
did ask, okay, for example, Susan and Pete Peters were here, they were present that night. They had turned their proxy in with their ballot, and they are not marked. And there's several other people that I spoke to that turned them in at the same time, and they were not marked that their proxies were accepted, where their vote for the budget and the insurance was accepted. So, I mean, I have a list of about 7 people. Another one that was here was Chase Frankfurt. Myrtle and Beverly Schultz were not here, but they turned theirs in with their ballot. So we're talking about people that filled out a proxy and voted, but they weren't accounted for.
Okay. that vote. And they paid for it.
Would not affect the election.
We need to talk to them.
Yes, and they can deliver that, because don't forget, the ballots and the envelopes and everything are separated, so you can't tell by looking at the ballot who voted and who didn't. All you can do is count the number of votes.
And that doesn't even go to the fact that the process was changed for this year. And instead of voting at the meeting and put it in the mailbox was overflowing. What's the chain of custody from the mailbox to the accountant who was doing the tally? The whole, it's just concerning.
We don't have. It's a volunteer until they wanna get a management company.
We don't have no managerial report, who's the accounting firm? that
Yes, we do, I showed you the letter from the accounting firm.
It's actually on the budget item.
I need a formal letter from the management, the company who actually did the counting and the opening. They should have been open, it's their responsibility to open
I
the
had to do that
ballots,
letter.
and that's not the case. It showed that the ballots were opened by somebody else. They were, yes, I have proof that they were actually opened, and they should have been opened only by
The accountant.
the accountant.
Somebody actually signed their name to it.
Yes, someone signed their name to it.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what proof you would have.
I have.
Okay, so you want to take the accounting firm to court? Because
What?
you want to take the accounting
Not the
firm.
accounting firm.
No,
It's
I'm like an
it's the election.
They signed the election results.
We did.
What was the name of the county?
Watson and Mann.
Watson and what?
Watson and Mann.
So I have
All right, okay.
one other thing, and that is, the management company idea. Now Brenda went to a lot of trouble last year to devise a beautification, step-by-step, cost by cost, and it was $5,000. And I was told we don't have the money for that. So if we don't have the money to do that, we certainly don't have money to do a managerial contract.
I am not.
And there's certainly so many other people that were gonna try to get on the board that have a lot of experience in HOA, like Pete Peters has about 14 years. Lee Batts has years' experience on the board, that they wouldn't have to have a management company to run.
It sounds like we have a new board and they're saying, you know, we really don't think we're capable, so we're gonna outsource.
No.
That's how it appears.
That's
Well,
how
that may be what you think I'm saying, but that's not what we're saying. We're saying that the system has gotten very complicated, the legal traps are very, very serious, and that is why almost every other association that I've spoken to has got a management company. This program is too big to be run by people who feel like they know how to do it. Okay. I move that we adjourn the meeting because we are separating off. So moved. Meeting's adjourned.
I'm gonna address the board for a second. And, you know, I don't know where they're getting this information about the ballots. Denny and I were physically there. And as I said at the meeting, and as the letter from the auditor states, they physically opened the ballot envelopes. They were never touched by anybody from SPOA from the time they came out of the manila envelopes until they were handed the sealed ballot envelopes. And everything after the handing over of the ballot envelope was done by the auditor, as stated in the letter, signed by the auditor. As a prior service member, and I think a pretty good guy, I really take offense at this bullshit that's going around in this room.
Bill, the letter from the auditor
Part of it is in the file, and it says that they overstocked. true, why are you two puppies? Wolf,
That's a good review.
I understand that. The letter, when it says for the issue here is, when we pursue the audit company, that's what we have to do, because they're saying on this letter that this is a valid election. So, I mean, that's.
Remember,
Discrepancy